motion to approve the agenda?
Madam President, I move to approve the agenda.
I second.
Really? Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I need a motion to approve the minutes from September 26, 2018.
All right, I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
And I'll second that motion.
September 26th.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from September 26, 2018. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Is there any public that would like to comment? Jocelyn? Your turn. You're the only public here. Nothing? You don't want to say nothing? Okay. James, you're up. Oh, you're not up yet? Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, who's up? Leslie, you want to go first?
The chamber? She's the
Chamber, yes, with the chamber. I did want to update you on the funding that I received for the Fall Festival. It was fantastic. We really went really far out of the region with the radio. We had a buy one, get one free through Roswell and Ruidoso. We've got vendors all the way from Farmington. So, yeah, quite a long way. So we increased the Fall Festival, tripled it from last year. So we're doing something, we're going to continue to revamp it and do something again for 2019. But it was a really good success, and I think everyone was really happy. We also had received funding for our Off the Clock Connect, or Visit Lovington. We had that hosted at Lovington Inn. We had opened it up for businesses, local businesses, to present information to everyone that we were reaching from all over Lee County to come in. And again, another successful venture, so we were really excited. So this time I just asked for a small bit of money. We want to do another Visit Lovington to just create those partnerships, to promote our local businesses, to allow them to get the information out to the public, and create partnerships and buzzes, and have people come to Lovington and realize that there's a reason to visit, and also to open businesses and stuff. So this time we're doing just a community breakfast. We're going to partner with a local restaurant to present some information and do it kind of like a business over breakfast type thing, just to, again, create those partnerships again. Also, I sent out a email this afternoon, and I want to invite you guys also. New Mexico Tourism Department has cooperative advertising, and they're opening it up in the spring for us to try to get some cooperative advertising going. And I have a meeting set up January 10th at 9:30, and if anyone would like to attend, can kind of figure out how we can pool our resources together and work together on some of these big events. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, everything's the same for us. We just didn't get to have it last year because of the improvements, but hopefully come March, everything will be better and bigger this year.
I think they're going to get it, Paul. You think? I'm just asking.
So the irrigation system's done.
Yes,
and
good.
This is really going to be a judgment call on her place. I talked with the foreman today. The fields will be usable, but there will not be any grass back. What we still have to do is finish leveling out and take care of the settling so we don't have any holes or dips.
Yeah.
But we are talking March 9th. We are going to look at seeding it, but I don't know if there will, I mean, the surface will be playable, but there won't be any grass, to be completely honest.
So, well, if we need to, we can move it a couple of weeks later, see what happens, play it by ear.
Okay. So, yeah, I just want to make you aware that,
Yes.
that March 9th may not be I mean, you can play on them,
Yeah.
it's just, they're gonna look bad because there won't be any grass
We
out
have to,
there.
we'll move it.
Okay,
Yeah, no problem with that.
okay.
Move it to where?
The date,
The
Move
dates.
Oh, move the date.
or
Yeah,
Move the
forward.
date.
I thought
Date
you meant
forward.
move everybody to.
No.
Where do you move it?
Move the date back.
No. We were gonna try, well, Hobbs asked us to move it over there, but then I didn't really feel comfortable moving it over there because we're
Yeah,
familiar.
it's just we're actually restoring the turf out there, so we're looking at methods to get grass out there fast, but it all comes down to cost. I know sod is not an answer. It's
Even-
not an option.
Even, I mean, I don't know about baseball, but it would a month later to give this grass to grow
Right.
a little, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
because you want it to
If
definitely
we
be
have
up
to-
and going.
We'll adjust it and move it to wherever
Okay.
we have to, as long as we try to get it in the first quarter.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Tyler?
The request that I submitted was for the hotel feasibility study. We've been debating it and discussing it probably for the last 6 months. We have two companies that are willing to come into Lovington, but they want community buy-in, they want Lovington to purchase a feasibility study. And what this feasibility study does is it collects data to see if we can support more than one hotel. It shows perfect locations, where we pulling from, how our hotels in Lovington are doing now. It's just technically to see if we can support another hotel, which if we have people calling that Lovington has been approved, we have two, I can't say the names, but I mean, we have two hotels that have been calling, but they need this feasibility study. And if that's the only thing that's required from us, and the reason we came to lodger's tax is we figured, well, we're trying to grow the lodger's tax base as it is, so we figured that the money would come from this fund. But we do have a lot of interest. We would get it done in the first quarter of 2019, and it would be a big win. They're just waiting on that.
Do you feel like that we can handle another hotel?
I believe
Do
we
you?
can. We actually have a lot of leakage that's going to Hobbs. There's a lot of folks there's nothing available here. Khalid's hotel is to the max.
And Lovington Inn is pretty much full.
Exactly.
So we
We
could probably
actually-
handle
We
it.
could definitely, most definitely. We do lose a lot of it
I think
to
that's
Hobbs.
exciting. I think.
I've
So,
only seen about an average of $1,000 in lodger's tax decrease in the Lovington Inn since Comfort Inn opened.
So you're staying.
So I think what I know everybody's fear was, well, all the business that used to stay out at the Lovington Inn, which was the driver, all of that business would go over to the Comfort Inn, but I think what it did was it actually increased our lodging nights, and we've seen that dramatically with the revenues that we project. And I think what's happened is those folks that used to stay in Hobbs, now that we have hotels here, are moving up here.
And a
So-
feasibility study falls within the guidelines of what can be spent for.
it is. We looked it up and it does qualify.
So, yes, as far as the funding that we use to pay for event promotion, facility promotion, tourism stuff, it doesn't fit that component, but we do have additional funding in the lodger's tax fund that this could actually go towards. So to fund this, we did include it because this is lodger's tax board. But if you look at our projected revenues, how we came up with what was it? I don't have the projected. Oh, event request. We set a budget of 48,644, and that is actually the minimum amount based on our projected revenues that we have to spend on this per state law, which state law specifically says that you have to use this percentage of the money towards advertisement, publicizing, and promoting tourist-related attractions, facilities, and events. So, I mean, you can look at this two ways. You could use this. This is a tourist-related facility, but we actually would have the ability with some extra revenues that we have, and I'll explain the financial report here in a little bit, but this would actually fall under other municipal purposes, just because I interpret that particular section towards, with facilities, it's a public project.
Okay.
So, but this would be eligible under lodger's tax.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I was wondering whether, I mean, a study like this was done by Main Street not too terribly long ago, just in order to keep things downtown and whatnot. It was kind of a feasibility type study. Is there any way to coordinate with any
Did we do a
companies
feasibility study?
previous?
Not for lodge.
Strictly
True, it
for
wasn't
hotel.
Hotel, but it does, so it doesn't help at all. I mean, nothing.
They
no
couldn't use some of that
numbers,
information,
No
right?
information.
What that could do is the information garnered from that, because there
Could
is a
help.
lot of legwork, it could reduce the overall cost.
Yes, correct. We could look into that, definitely. I mean, it's up to $10,000 depending on how much is done, how much
That's
work
what I
is
was
done.
wondering. I mean, it said $10,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to
Right.
put my head around,
Yeah.
you know,
Basically,
what kind
the
of studies
more-
are gonna take $10,000? I mean,
Right, the less, I guess you could look at it this way, that the less digging that they have to do or mining for data, if we're able to provide that, that would actually reduce the labor costs associated with it.
Correct.
So
And just
it
to
is-
elaborate a little bit on it, I met with the Hobbs Tourism. They're doing some events in 2019 with the New Mexico Junior College, and apparently they have 7 events that they're going to be hosting, and each event's going to need about 350 rooms. Well, Hobbs can't support it. There's not enough hotels to support 350 rooms, so they did reach out to me, and I am working with the 2 hotels that are in town, which is Khalid's and the Lovington Inn, for them to give rates. But we are going to have some of that spinoff come to Lovington, so that does help out our revenues as well. So
That's good.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's, the recommendation, I'll pass it around, it would be one of those, well, we're just not gonna write them a check. It'll be not to exceed this.
Right.
So if we fund them at $9,000 and it comes at 10,000, they have to come up with the extra $1,000, is how it would work. But if it comes in at 7,000, we're only gonna reimburse up to $7,000. So really, it depends whenever you get the contractor here, they can evaluate, this is what we will charge based on, this is what you already have in place.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys. So I wanted to start off by saying sorry about my support Lovington packet. I didn't delete a prior sentence that specified that it was only for one restaurant, and actually it does not only promote one restaurant, it promotes various businesses down in the downtown area. And then in terms of the lights, estimates was really rough. It was based off of me talking with Chuck. I've had a lot of issues in the past in terms of getting estimates in a prompt order. So we kind of talked about the last cost, the last time that they put up all the lights in the downtown area, which was Cornerstone Block, Theater, and Western Home Decor Block. So the 3 blocks right directly around the courthouse. And for that total project, it was about $8,000. So
Did Chuck donate his time on that or something?
he did donate some of his time for the automated system, which is why it only cost us $2,000 versus the $1,000 it's supposed to cost per block, is what he told me. A block is about 300 square foot, so I'm asking for
300 square foot,
or 300 feet. Sorry.
like it is.
300 feet in terms of length, and so they're not all one block, they're pieces, so we're only where the buildings are, which in total would equal 3 blocks, is the way I have it set up. So if you guys have any questions,
So you want
additional.
to do this block over here?
So the block across the street from Edward and Jones, the little piece of Edward and Jones, the block of all Main Street Cafe, that whole thing, the piece over there by Western Home Decor that is not lit up,
Why is it not lit up?
because it's like if you're on Main
Oh,
Street,
okay, on
that
Main,
piece,
okay.
yeah. And then the other one is the piece, so like all of Main Street block, the Main Street Cafe,
sorry.
like, yeah, like a giant L basically,
Okay.
is the way it would be. And that would be it. Yes, sir.
Are all of the lights working now?
Yes, they are.
Because I've noticed in the past that WIC got funded in the past and large sections were not working.
They are all.
If it's the same person, I voted 0 points for that.
Okay.
project. I'm all for lighting up downtown, and it looks pretty. I've seen it in other towns,
Mhm.
and it's very nice. But I thought it was a very poor job, and I saw very large chunks of it that had not been lit for large portions of time.
So if I may, Art, part of that reason is it's really hard to get our electricians to make time for projects like this. This isn't just in general one electrician. For like, let's say our parklet, it took me about 3 months to get an estimate, or for anybody to go out there and even look at it. So
And that wasn't just
that-
one electrician, that was several that we asked.
yeah, so it's not
Right.
so much.
So
They're
So
always
it's
in the
not
oil
just
field,
that.
aren't they?
Yeah, they're always in the oil field, and those projects pay more money than we ever do.
And
Um,
we're asking them to donate time and, no.
I
Yeah.
just didn't see, what I saw did not impress me. So if it was the same person doing it again, I vote $0.
And the other
$0
thing,
for that.
and the other thing about that is those lights were actually donated. They were not purchased with the intent of them being for exterior. Those were donated by Connie a long time ago. The
ones
rope
are
lights
on
that we
outside
have,
the
yes, sir.
buildings? I thought we had paid, Lodgers tax paid around $6,000 for it back then in the day when they were voted in.
Is that
Yeah.
true?
I thought that they paid quite a bit of money for all that lighting to go on.
I was told by Connie that that
Really?
was a donation, that the lights,
I thought
the
it
rope
was-
lights.
I thought it was
They
several
were?
thousand to put it all up.
They were what?
Okay.
We helped pay for quite a bit.
Quite a bit, it was quite a
Oh,
bit.
okay.
Yeah,
Every
okay.
time
Well,
it was
'cause-
thousands. And
I remember ordering them, but, yeah, we ordered them.
Because
I remember them
Connie
coming
told me
in.
that she had made a big donation from that.
Well,
That's
she may have made, but it didn't pay for the full the full project.
and part of it was also paid for by Maddox.
I believe that maybe what she may have donated was the lights that were put on the windows when there were facades put up and there were lights streaming on
No.
some of them maybe.
Those were before. I don't
But I
know.
recall there were like, I'm guesstimating $6,000 or so was put aside for that. That's the number that I'm remembering.
Well,
That
Yeah,
I don't
Lodgers
know.
tax paid for and.
Lodgers tax
I
paid
don't
for
feel they
them,
did a
or we
good
got a
job.
grant for them from Maddox something.
Maddox paid for the automation system for sure. I know that for a fact. I have the contract that Maddox paid for that.
But I remember Tabitha ordering them and them
Yes,
coming
I
in.
do.
Well, I called Connie and she said she ordered them and that she had gotten them.
We could probably look back and whatnot and see
Yeah.
if.
No, right.
I was like,
monies
yeah,
were
because I
paid.
don't know.
What I'm hearing is they're not working.
They
That's-
are now. Yes, they are.
They
They
were
are.
not
Okay.
Like
working
this
for a
building
very
was
long
where-
time.
They were.
That's what I'm
They
hearing.
stopped working. The automation system
Very
stopped.
That it
soon after
matters
they
where
were
they
put
come
on,
from.
they
Okay.
stopped
They're
Yeah,
not
it was
working.
it was the automation system that
So
stopped
the
working.
other part of that is we also need money to maintain them. Those lights were put in a while back, and you have to think about heat, hail,
Not
rain,
that-
all of that.
Not been that long ago.
Do you
Eh.
not check them before you put them up, or is this something
No,
that
they all
happened?
worked when
They
they
are.
And then they went out shortly thereafter. I
No.
know
The
because
next
our
year.
own personal building was off. So that's how I'm aware
You
of
know
it.
that.
Yes.
It's just your own business.
Our own business, lights were not working for the longest time, so.
It was in May when the automation system was installed, and they stopped. Pieces of them stopped working. At which point, Main Street actually paid the $3,000 to replace all of those and get those fixed and working again. And then we found out that the automation system wasn't working because we needed an additional transmitter, which Main Street also paid for the additional transmitter to be installed. So, it honestly,
So
part of it is
Sounds
it's
like
really
we need to
costly.
find a different contractor to me
To keep it up.
to keep it up and running, and please pick someone else if any monies are gonna be sent in that
That's what I
direction.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just hard to get
It is.
anybody. But there is
I mean, I'm not opposed to lights at all, I'm not. I think they look pretty.
Mhm.
I'm just not that
What's
impressed
wrong
with
with
what was done in the past with them.
I get that. I do. I'm also telling you the other aspect of it
Yeah,
too,
and
because it's, I mean, it's
I'm hearing that
expensive and,
portion of it that
so
nobody wants to
it's-
do
I
it.
can't think of the name of the company. But there's some other electricians we can check.
When did we do that?
Well,
16?
I think
It-
so.
Because
No,
I'm
it was
not
done
finding
be-
it in
No, it's-
packet.
the lights were before that, because when I came on, they were already installed, and I came on in 15.
All right, we'll have to,
We can look
we'll
at
have to go back through the minutes.
they've probably been here. This is probably our 4th Christmas with them, probably.
But I just
Yeah.
already said they're not staying on now.
Well, they are
Whatever.
now. They are
Or
now.
they weren't.
They were.
Yeah, they were not.
That's what
They
I hear
were.
you saying.
They were not.
The first year we had
Tonight's
them,
one.
they were not even
This is
on an
all-
automated system.
No, they were not.
The first year.
Well, that was an additional cost though, too.
Because
They
it
were
was an additional
so.
cost, and we wanted
when
to
we-
get them up in time for Christmas.
When we, yeah, when we first got them,
After
we
that.
had to have like an
Yeah, yeah,
electrician go up there and turn them on manually, and then set timers on them at the very beginning. And then last year was when the automation system came on, for sure. Tabitha's last year. So.
Okay, any other questions, comments, discussion? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I don't have it on. It's probably in minutes, so we'll check it.
Okay, now you're up.
Okay, cool. Yay. All right, so what we have, you can pull it up. I'll throw it up on the screen too. But so our revenues are actually doing really well. If you look at the second quarter funding, it's still in italics, and it's still estimated because we have not received our December's payments yet. Those payments normally come
You
in the
mean for
last.
September?
No, the payment for December. We're still in the second quarter.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So we normally get our lodger's tax payments around the 25th of the month, and sometimes into the first week of the month. So what we did for our estimated payments was we have two months of real estimates, which they averaged about $17,500 a month. But what we did was, staying with our conservative estimates, we put in the budgeted $9,517 to just look at, an estimate, a conservative estimate, staying with our budget. So that brings up our available cash. Whenever you look at our third quarter estimate, though, it's at the budgeted $9,500 a month. So when you move down to our budgeted obligations, of course, we did build the budget. We limited our event requests that have been dispersed for the first two quarters to $12,000. When you look at our event request in that fourth column under pending expenses, we still have $8,900 in outstanding expenses,
For this
that
quarter.
reimbursement for this current quarter, that have not been submitted or paid for yet.
Really?
We just got some reimbursements, but they haven't been posted to the ledger
Are these
yet.
from the museum, or who's?
It's well, we just got several from Main Street the other day.
Oh, okay.
So it's just they haven't posted in the system. So we are accounting for those right now.
Okay.
And then, of course, you see our third quarter obligations. So our actual cash balance in lodger's tax came, as of 2 days ago, was $108,000. The unencumbered cash balance, which whenever you look at this, we still have our July 4th expense. Of course, we budget for that monthly, and it's just, I guess you would say, holding money back to pay for that. We also have our city entry signs, which that project we are going to finish before June 30th of 2019. We will actually, it's our goal right now on our January 14th to roll out our little ad hoc committee's recommendations on the replacement signage. We also have some miscellaneous requests, which that's additional sponsorships and some site assessments that we've had to do for some downtown stuff. That all falls under the Lodger's Tax Act. However, if you look at our unencumbered cash balance, we would have $31,000 in funding that is not dedicated or budgeted for. Whenever you add that to our third quarter estimates, that brings it up to $69,000, which leaves us with a surplus in funding of $3,500. Whenever you look at leaving a $4,000 reserve, this basically means that we have an additional $31,000 in unexpected revenue. The budgeted plan that we started with, where we said we would set the cap at $12,000, has worked because, as you all know, our fourth quarter is our heaviest hit to lodger's tax because whether, we have our July 4th, we have another softball tournament, Cinco de Mayo, we have smoking on the plaza. So this is actually building up those reserves. So for those event requests, we can actually absorb and hopefully give a little bit more assistance. So that is the report. Are there any questions on that?
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, where's the division?
Okay, so looking at your formulas.
Yeah, I was looking on here, I was like, what?
Yeah, I know, we didn't, we just, well, we were waiting, because sometimes we don't get the scores until last minute, so we didn't go.
I wonder who did that last
I
minute.
wonder.
Oh, so, all right, so actually, once again, there's two options.
I got in trouble with parking.
There are two options in here. Option one actually addresses, option one addresses the $12,000 budgeted funding cap for this quarter. And of course, if you remember, we said no one event can receive more than 25% of the available funds, which is $3,000. So we have your scores here, which is listed under maximum recommended funding, which is a total of 16.5. However, staff did review some of these requests, and if you take out the hotel feasibility study from that $12,000, it actually does knock it down pretty close. But you can see these are our requests. Now, option two, taking into account that we do have some extra revenues, and that we put the cap at what we actually have budgeted revenues, it actually increases it and brings it closer in line to 23.2. It does increase the availability. Some of the justifications that we have for staff recommended, of course, with starting with Lee County Museum, the art opening, those do perform well. Those do draw in quite a bit of a crowd. The advertising of $1,500 is about average of what we give. So it's not necessarily generating a lot of hotel nights, but it does bring people and promote tourism. As far as New Year's sales, we're recommending only $300. The reason being is because these individuals who attend these art openings are there. They should see the store. We're talking about some on-site advertising to generate some revenue. So we think that, maybe putting an ad or social media posts about the store would be a much more effective use of funds. Visit Lovington Community Breakfast. We were recommending $750. The live remote did actually stir up quite a bit of interest the last time in some social media advertising. Support Lovington. This particular campaign, we think that using some funds for some media, mainly we were liking the idea of the digital commercials are more effective than the print and the rack cards and stuff like that. The Smoking on the Plaza brand promotion, I did visit with Length at Mara about this. We just want to make sure that if this is funding, that all materials must be used for Smoking on the Plaza, meaning they are indicating they are for Smoking on the Plaza, because that is directly supporting an event. Light Up Lovington, whenever you, the $14,000 request, I think Mara did elaborate on that. She was wanting some quotes, but the quotes that we got, probably about $445 today. Project would actually come in at $5,169 to include additional lights plus the labor. I think the labor costs are a little bit inflated, but electricians are expensive. But we think it's worthwhile. It does improve the downtown. As far as trying to find an electrician, I look at it as, even with the city having problems finding some folks, sometimes we have to deal with that, but we can definitely have Mara express the service issues that we have experienced. And then Spring Brawl, of course, speaking with Alfredo, I know that in the past we've given out this amount. It does draw some folks in. Hopefully the condition of the fields will spring up quick. I know that we've invested, I want to say it's around 106, between 150 and 180 in upgrading the irrigation system out there. Yeah, but yes.
It'd be good though.
Yes, and that's why the grass, it looked horrible. But basically, we are instituting some turf remediation methods, because it's just that turf, the soil hadn't been allowed to rest. It really hadn't been cared for like it should. We've actually paid for some training for our guys, but that's one of the reasons why they're tearing up the field too, is to restore that turf. But we are making a lot of other improvements to it, like new metal fencing, and hopefully the eye appeal of it.
Is this on the left street?
This is the Harold Reynolds complex, but hopefully that will bring in more people to where we can actually have more than just 1/4. That would be great. And then, of course, the hotel feasibility study, we do need this, and it seems that, you know, some people have the school of thought that oh, well, if a hotel wants to come, they need to make that investment. But at the same time, we do have some cash that is available. I think it would be worthwhile. And in addition to that, if a hotel did it, that's not, we don't have access to that information. The nice thing about it is that we could make this hotel feasibility study, even though it would be the property of the Lovington EDC, it would be my recommendation that if you do fund this, that it is with the stipulation that the city of Lovington receives a record or receives a copy and it becomes public record.
Public records,
That way
what I was
we
gonna
have
say,
access to that information.
And any
For other
other
retailers.
businesses would have access.
And
That
the one,
wanted to come
and the
in.
other one that was done for businesses
No.
needs to
Right.
be public too.
And I know that
Later, at a later date, if another
They
business
put
wanted to
in,
come in,
right.
we could use that feasibility study.
I mean, that way we at least have, unless it's some proprietary information, but this is just actually a demographic profile of the city. There shouldn't be anything that's confidential on there.
There you go.
The other thing is, with
Agreements,
the
or
hotel
I see
feasibility
these blank
study,
looks on y'all's faces over there.
unless Evelyn has a reason why we wouldn't be able to release that information, but the thing is, this is being paid for by taxpayer funds. The taxpayer should have access to that particular information.
I don't think it'd be a problem. I just think I think when they pull the numbers from like the hotels, that probably is going to be confidential.
That's not going to be confidential because those numbers right now are public record through lodger's tax. Our finance director is supposed to go out every quarter and audit their books.
So you know what, like as a whole or not individually? What
No, we actually, finance director is supposed to go out there and audit their records to make sure that we are actually getting paid what we're supposed to. So as far as the money's generated, as far as, you know, the cost for lodging, the nightly stays, their census count or something like that, that's actually all public information.
I just
So-
don't know the details on it.
All right. Now, if there is some type of a non-disclosure clause in the contract, of course, that's off the table, but the nice thing is at least we would still have some access to it because it is the EDC and they do work for the city. She did ask for an additional $2,500 for recruitment and marketing materials to get hotels in, but it is my opinion that we already pay Retail Strategies to do that job for us, and we don't need to expend any additional funds for it. But that is my opinion. I know Evelyn doesn't share that opinion, but that's mine. But that's my recommendation is option 2 because we do have the additional funds, and it should not have a significant impact on our fourth quarter funding.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, I'll entertain a motion. There's no, oh, wait. Is there any further discussion, comments, questions? Anything from the public? Oh, Jocelyn's the only public. From y'all. Okay, now I'll entertain a motion. Go ahead.
I entertain a motion to accept option 2.
Funding.
Funding
Okay,
As presented.
as presented by our city manager.
okay.
I second that.
Been moved and seconded to accept option 2 as presented by our city manager. Anybody else have any questions? Comments? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Just a silly one, so y'all.
Okay.
You moved and seconded, not going to oppose it, right? Thank you. Okay. Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Anything else?
Be safe out there.
Motion to adjourn.
Move that we adjourn.
Yes.